Good evening, hello, and welcome to a bit of a different episode of the Behind the Leazes podcast. Of course, we have had a couple of weeks off to discuss the international break. Of course, there have been a couple of new players who have been given caps, like Patrick Bamford. But it's been, I think, a bit of an interesting week in terms of Newcastle United as well. Of course, that dreaded game that I think we are all really just not looking forward to. Man United on Saturday afternoon. Adam, you're going to be there. Speaking of Adam, hello. How you doing, mate? We've also got Andy here, who I think might just be coming in and out of this podcast. He's got some internet troubles. He doesn't have his internet in his new place at the minute. But I think we are going to be able to hear him. I'm not sure about seeing him that much. But hello, guys. How you doing? Adam, we'll start with you, mate. How are you doing? How's the past couple of weeks been?
It's been good. Just started uni this week, so I mean, it's not the best in terms of getting back into the routine. But in terms of Newcastle, I disagree with what you said before. I'm actually looking forward to the Man U game. Yes, the football is not going to go well, but listen, great spectacle back at Old Trafford. Man U is always the best away game for Newcastle for me, so I can't really get back down there. And I mean, yeah, it's going to be some scoreline, I tell you that. But it's going to be back. I'm ready for football once again. I hate international break, so I'm glad that's over and done with. Come on, Newcastle.
Is it your first time going to Old Trafford for an away game, or are you?
No, it's my third. I went to the one where we were 2-0 after 9 minutes, bottled it, so we lost out on 3-2, and I went to the 4-1 2 seasons ago. So, yeah, we conceded 7 goals in the 2 games I've been there, so, I mean, they haven't got the best record.
Oh, well, let's hope that you're a good luck charm this time. Third time is, of course, a charm. We do also have Andy here. You're struggling with the internet a little bit, though, mate. How are you doing? There might be a bit of delay on his microphone, but how are you doing, pal? Well, I'm not too sure that we've got Andy at the minute. I think we might have lost him. Well, Adam,
I think next Wednesday.
Oh, I think at the minute he is cutting in and out. But Adam, I'll just come to you. I'll come to you next, just whilst Andy sorts himself out. Man United, of course, we did just mention it briefly there. I think the big story of this one is Cristiano Ronaldo. He is going to potentially make his debut. I don't know whether he'll start, but he is going to make his debut for Man United, well, for the second time. How are you feeling for seeing him, and how do you think Newcastle will fare when they've got, Man United have got a pretty good team against them?
Oh, Man U's team is incredible. The attacking ability, I mean, they've got one of the best attacks in the world. The depth's a joke. They've got players like Martial, like Rashford. These players are probably going to get benched. It's mental. They've got Greenwood, Fernandes, Sancho, Ronaldo. I mean, yeah, it doesn't matter what we do on Saturday. We are going to lose the game. It's that simple. Like, Man U's team is too good. Newcastle, we've got the worst time to play them because they're all going to be excited. We're going to be enthusiastic for the game. Ronaldo coming back. Yes, I don't think he'll start, but he's going to definitely come off the bench. He's ready. He's been trained today. He's going to be back in that match. And I mean, listen, we've won once at Old Trafford in the last 50 years. Ronaldo's played 11 times and never lost. I mean, it doesn't matter what we do. We are going to lose this game. It is that simple. So I couldn't care less what the score is because I'm going to go down and have a good day. I'm going to be drinking all the beer, gulping them all down. It doesn't matter. I don't care what the scoreline is. I really don't. I'm looking forward to seeing Ronaldo, 5-time Ballon d'Or winner. Yes, he is probably going to score against us, but listen, it's Ronaldo. I can't wait to see him live.
Yeah, Cristiano, that's like the big spectacle in it. I think, Man United will sell out every single game possible now. Even I think the games in Europe, they'll sell out when they don't usually do that as well, I must say. They'll sell out all the games in Europe. If Cristiano Ronaldo is playing, there's going to be a lot of fans in attendance. We did have the international break, though, and he actually scored a couple of times in the international break. He broke the record for the most goals by an international player ever. Obviously, this is his big return. Do you think, scoring them goals, it'll give him quite a lot of confidence going into his debut?
No, because we're Newcastle. He doesn't need any confidence. He can still score Newcastle. Yes, obviously scoring those 2 goals against Ireland is going to get him ready for this match. But really, though, he'd be ready anyway because Man U return. He hasn't been there in 12 years. He's returned to the Premier League. Everyone in the world's going to be watching the game. I mean, it doesn't matter if he scores 0 goals or scores 10 goals in that Ireland game. He's going to be ready regardless. He's going to be excited for this match. And I mean, that stand ovation is going to get when he's come off the bench. It's just going to be an absolute joke, and it will get him ready for the match. So, for me, it doesn't matter how many goals he's got in that Ireland game. He's going to be ready. And Newcastle, we try our best, but we're not going to do it from it's that simple. The team's deflated. Steve Bruce is literally on holiday last week, so there's not much I can say about that.
And I think that's something we should mention. Steve Bruce's holidays this season, 1. Newcastle United's wins this season, 0. I think it's a bit of an insult, isn't it, for Steve Bruce to go on a little holiday, whilst the season is underway. I know it's an international break, but I think it is still quite a bit of a disgrace. What do you think about it, Adam?
Well, I don't want to try and sound like one of those inside sources, but I actually know his niece quite well. So I know why he went to Portugal. Pretty much he was going to go to a wedding in Portugal before lockdown, but because of obviously COVID, it got cancelled, and that's when he went back to the wedding. So, yeah, it's not good enough at all. But if you're going to pick a point to go in the season, at least you pick the Man U game, because, like I've said, we're not going to win that match. But if we're going to just point this finger at Steve, we should be pointing at our players as well, because admittedly, I don't watch Newcastle's women's, but literally half of their team's on holiday during the season. Imagine Sir Maximin Wilson on holiday when we're playing. I'd be going mad, because we've got to criticise what people want to do, but it's not on at all. But at the same time, he's probably let all the players off for those 4 days or so we'll see how things go, but at least he picked the Man U game. If he did that for the Leeds game or like an important match, then I'll be frustrated. But we're going to lose this game no matter what, so you might as well go on holiday if you're going to pick a time to go on.
So you've got the inside sources basically on any movements that Steve Bruce makes. As well, I know that you're a YouTuber in your spare time. You've got a lot of subscribers. You went to the Newcastle training ground, didn't you, on deadline day? And we did sign Santiago Munoz. And then that was it, really. Nothing else really coming in, going. You met a couple of the players. What was the sort of experience like on the day?
Well, I originally went just to run outside the training ground, because I thought I'd get a video done outside the training ground discussing how bad the transfer window was. But thankfully, I turned up at the time where all the players are coming out. So it was good meeting the players. Some of them stopped, some of them didn't. It's what I expected, really. But the ones that did start, I think Paul Dummett, Sean Longstaff. There was something to speak to. Obviously, I joked around Steve who's saying he ready for Ronaldo, but literally all the fans asked him after that video saying, "Oh, we're going to sign new players." Just went no straight up. So yeah, I know straight away that all the rumours on Twitter were just a load of rubbish, but at least I've heard it from the horse's mouth. I know a lot of people obviously speculate and stuff on Twitter, but why look at that when you can literally just speak to Steve Bruce yourself? So yeah, the video I enjoyed doing, but yeah, the transfer window was embarrassing.
Do you appreciate his honesty when he mentioned, there aren't going to be any more transfers, or do you think it was a bit of an insult?
Well, he gets given the transfer budget. He's not a good manager. He's not good enough for this football club, but he generally has been stitched over like £20 million. We finished 12th last season. How we got £20 million? We generate so much money at the likes of Sky and BT, but yet we've got enough to buy one player. What's going on there? It baffles me, it really does, and they come out with this statement a couple of days later saying, "Oh, we base off match day revenue." Well, that's a lie, because every other team had COVID issues last season. Nobody had any fans in the stadium, and everyone want to see how it's match day revenue. I've never heard so much rubbish in all my life. It's a joke. It's honestly a joke. And yes, he's not a good manager, but what can he do with £20 million? He can't work with that money.
And I was going to actually ask you about that statement. It was, I think once again it's quite a disgrace, and there wasn't even like a sign-in on who actually wrote the letter as well, which I think was really quite odd. Who, if you could sort of guess who wrote that letter, who do you think it could have been?
Probably Charlie. I can't really think anyone else. Right. He's the one that's in charge of the finances, so he will know all the inside stuff in it. But it doesn't matter who writes it, really, because Mike Ashley's the one that stitched everyone over. So it's good that the name's not in there, to be honest, because some poor guy would have got this buddy, to be honest. But it's down to the owner. He's the one that's investing. Yes, he's trying to sell the club, but he still owns the club. You still need to put money into it. And in fact, he's taking money out of it because we're generating more than £20 million that season. That's a fact. That's not me trying to say something. It's obvious. He's taking money out of the club, and God knows where it's going. Probably I know our shop he's trying to buy, but it's stupid. How can we have £20 million? It's ridiculous, honestly.
And just before we move on to some of the different topics, I do want to bring up what is going to be the quiz question of this podcast. So Adam, you've got a little bit of time to think. We will come back to it before the end of the podcast. So obviously it was an international break. I'm going to ask you and all the audience, who was the most recent Newcastle player to earn a cap for England? So it's not like Callum Wilson, who earned them whilst he was at Bournemouth. He had to play for Newcastle whilst he earned that cap. So you can have a think, and we'll get the answer at the end of the podcast. Anyways, moving on though, we are going to talk just a little bit about the Euros once again. I've basically wiped that tournament from my memory because I don't really like to think about it. But it came out recently that it actually broke a record for the highest amount of viewers, or for one of the largest amounts of viewers in like a television sort of screen in history. There was 2 billion people worldwide that watched that tournament. A huge number for a European competition as well. So, that's worldwide, them figures, not just Europe. Adam, obviously I'll come to you on this. What do you think of, the viewing figures? And do you think that sort of means that football, even with its popularity, is still on the rise?
Yeah, I mean, it's the biggest sport in the world. It's never going to change in our lifetimes, I'll be honest. The Euros, yes, obviously there's quite a few good South American teams who obviously not taking part in the competition, but still the majority of the best nations in the world are in Europe. So, I mean, it's still a massive tournament. And yeah, it was a good tournament as well. I thought a lot of the matches were really good. I thought the football was great. VAR worked very well in the Euros, I thought. So, yeah, a lot of people got invested in, a lot of people watched it. I mean, yeah, it was quite a successful tournament for everyone involved.
And do you think football now is becoming more popular than ever?
Well, yeah, it would naturally be popular anyway because the population's increasing around the world. So, I mean, it's always going to get bigger, football, regardless of how exciting or how boring it is. I mean, it's just how life works. I mean, football, yeah, it's good. Like I've said before, it's the biggest sport in the world. It's just not going to change our lifetime.
What do you think could be done to increase that popularity?
I don't know. I'd probably say to branch out to more countries. I know some countries probably not be able to have like football pitches, for example, so the kids can't really get involved in it. I mean, it's just stuff like that. A lot of people sort of love Brazilian players because there's always these sort of kids that will play inside like sand pitches and then they'll eventually build up to be a world class player. I mean, yeah, that's the sort of story people like. Yeah, and I mean, if every single country was like that in the world, they could get good talent. I mean, a lot more people get invested in football, but I mean, I can't do anything about it, unfortunately. But that's what I personally would do if I could.
And I just want to talk about Cristiano Ronaldo again. He's only just returned to training today. Do you think it's looking sort of increasingly likely that he'll start in this game on Saturday, or do you think he'll come off the bench?
Bench. I don't think they'll start him. They've got no reason to start him. They can literally just play the best team and they'll still have a good chance of winning. I mean, Ronaldo doesn't change the scoreline for me. He just adds to it if obviously he does come on. But there's no way he's not getting game time in that match. I mean, some of the tickets were getting sold for like $2,000. Imagine if he wasn't playing. I mean, it's mental. But no, he is 100% going to come off the bench. He's literally at training today. The Portugal sent him home the second Ireland game and just to get him ready for this match. I mean, yeah, he's got to play in this match in some capacity. And I think he'll be off the bench. Probably get 20 to 30 minutes, I think, in the second half. But yeah, he's definitely going to get game time.
And you talk about himself getting game time just in this game. Do you think he'll be quite a consistent starter throughout the season?
Yeah, I think he will. Even at his age, he's still going to start a lot of the games, you would think. I think he's really good at helping players like Griezmann and Rashford could take less pressure off those sort of players. So in big matches, you've got Ronaldo you can sort of turn to. So yeah, for Man U, really good sign. I mean, £20 million in a storm into someone. And bearing in mind, they've already made the most shirt sales in football history, like £30 million or something. I mean, he's the guy's a cash cow. He got easy money when he's at the club. I mean, he hasn't even kicked the ball yet. I've already made a profit from him.
I know, it is crazy to think, and that was something that I was going to talk about as well. So obviously they've signed Sancho, they've signed Varane, they have signed Ronaldo as well. Sancho and Varane, I believe, are both on 250 grand each, and then Ronaldo's on near 500 grand each per week. With the amount of shirts they are going to sell, do you think they'll manage to pay for the wages as well? Because, it is a really, really big ask, I think, paying for these wages.
Well, the Glazers, yes, they're a bit stingy sometimes. They've still got the money to pay for it. They still will pay the money. Yeah, a man who can afford these sort of players, they've got the revenue there, they've got the TV rates, and they've got the sponsors there, so they can actually get that money in. 500 grand a week, I was honestly nothing for Man U for me. Obviously, like I've said before, they already made £30 million of shirt sales. It's a 5-time Ballon d'Or, I mean, can't forget that. Yeah, they're going to afford the wages for him. It'll not be a problem at all. He'll be there about 2 seasons, I think, and eventually be going to ours.
I believe, yeah, his contract is until 2023. And, when we talk about Ronaldo, you've got to talk a little bit about Messi, because these are the two possibly greatest players ever. It's quite coincidental, isn't it, that both of these players have managed to get moves in the same transfer window. It seems like fate almost, doesn't it?
It's mental, right? I prefer Ronaldo as well. I think Messi going to PSG is for the easy opportunity. I think even though he's probably going to get 7 Ballon d'Or this year, I still think he should have tried a new. Should have went for an actual challenge. I mean, Ronaldo's eventually going to go to Man City, so the fact he went to Man U last second, I mean, I respect that quite a lot. Man City would have been the easier of the two teams to go to. And I mean, both of them moving into mental is definitely the best transfer window of all time. And yeah, like you said before, he's the best two players ever, in my opinion. So to see both of them move in one window is something special.
It is. I don't think, any players of this quality, we'll probably never see them again. We talk about Mbappe, we talk about Haaland. I don't think any of them have got anything on Messi or Ronaldo right now. Just before we move on to talking about like the little 3 p.m. blackout, and then we'll go on to the little quiz question before the end of the podcast. What do you think the tally of goals will be for Cristiano Ronaldo this season? You mentioned that he will get quite a bit of game time throughout the season, but do you think he will turn that game time into goals?
Yeah, he will. I don't think he scores as many goals as people think. I think people generally expect him to win the Golden Boot. I don't think that's going to happen at all. I think he will get double figures. I'll probably say he gets between 10 to 15. Teams like Newcastle, teams like Norwich, teams like Burnley, he's just got a stat pad against them. He'll be getting hat-tricks in all those games, you would think. Against the teams like Chelsea City, you're probably not seeing him scoring in, but yeah, I still can see him scoring those. Maybe he might go for the 20-plus season, but I personally think between 10 to 15. I don't think he'll start all the time. I think he'll be more of a European player that you get playing him, but I still think he can double figures.
And he does play like a striker now. He did used to play on the wing previously, didn't he? Do you think he'll turn some chances into assists as well?
Yeah, he'd be good at playing the ball out wide to the wingers. Ronaldo, he'll be more of a hold-up player now, I'd say, in terms of how he moves, but all you got to do is literally just put the ball in the box and he's going to score because his jumping's an absolute joke. I mean, he is a seriously good athlete, but yeah, in terms of his passing, he'll not get an awful lot of assists, but he'll get a few. He will hopefully link up with some of the other players.
Of course, and I want to do just a little sort of bit on the 3 o'clock blackout. Of course, it means that none of the games on 3 o'clock at 3 o'clock on a Saturday are televised, unfortunately, just because of foreign rights. They get broadcast in America. The game with Ronaldo, it's not actually going to be televised, so people are going to have to find sort of dodgy streams or things like that if they want to watch it in the UK. Adam, you don't have that problem because you're going to be at the ground. But what do you think of the 3 p.m. blackout? Sorry, not 3 a.m. What do you think of the 3 p.m. blackout as a whole? Last season we did see quite a lot of games being televised and not a lot of games being on at the same time, things like that. Do you think it would be better to go back to them sort of times, or do you prefer it as it is now?
Well, I'm obviously quite biased. I'm going to go to every single Newcastle game this season, so the 3 o'clock blackout doesn't matter to me at all. I couldn't care less about it. But obviously for football fans that want to watch the game, it's going to be frustrating for them. But every single sport in the world, like this, for example, the NFL starts the season. I want to watch the Giants play, and I can't watch them because the matches aren't live on TV. It's just how it is, unfortunately. But in terms of football, though, even though obviously I'm going to be going to all the games, it doesn't affect me. But in general, though, it helps, for example, non-league teams. If you can't go to a 3 o'clock game or watch it on TV, you can just go to a non-league match and just obviously have your radio on or something. I mean, it helps the teams in the UK, and that's why it's there in the first place, because it helps the Pyramid, it helps the lower league teams get more fans in. For example, literally, I'll be going to the Gateshead game with a couple of international breaks time, and I mean, yeah, those sort of teams need the money. It's just how it is. I mean, yes, some people might not like it, but it's just how it is. I like the PM blackout, for example, the Sky Sports News. I mean, there's so much drama in there. Just stuff like that, really, I do like about it.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about sort of supporting your local. I definitely do that here in Manchester. It's really, really good fun, I think, doing it because, it's a different kind of football as well. I just had a thought whilst you were talking there. We've got streaming platforms like Amazon. They do the games sometimes. DAZN do games as well sometimes. I think if DAZN sort of bought the rights out for Premier League games, we could probably have the same 3 o'clock games, but they would all be televised. It might mean a little less money for the Premier League clubs, but you never know. It could support the non-league clubs as well a bit more. What do you reckon, Adam?
Well, that's the sort of thing. It's not going to happen. I mean, the Premier League makes so much money from the games that they actually do share because of just how rare they are to see. I mean, you can't see them anywhere else. The Premier League has got the rights, and they're going to be in Sky and BT, and that's pretty much it. In terms of other things streaming them, I mean, it's just going to lose money for the Premier League. So why would it do? I mean, it doesn't benefit them at all. So I don't ever see it happening. I honestly think it'll stay like this for quite a while. Unless Sky try to do that £15 to buy a match again. I mean, what a rubbish that was. But I don't see anything change. I think 3 p.m. blackouts will stay there for God knows how long. But no, I don't see anything like that happening now.
I don't think we'll ever forget what happened with the Burnley West Brom game that was on pay-per-view. I think there was about 70 people that bought that pay-per-view, and that was it. So, how much money would they have made from that? What 300 quid, something like that? It's absolutely pointless, isn't it? But before we do end this podcast, I do apologise. It's a bit of a short-lived one. It's been a bit all over the place, unfortunately, with internet problems, a couple of absences as well today. So we do apologise. But Adam, we have had some time to think about the answer to that question. Do you have a name in your head to what the question was? Of course, the question was, who was the last Newcastle United player to receive an England cap? Do you have an answer?
Townsend.
It was, yeah, Andros Townsend. You said that with a bit of like a sigh. It was like,
because I went down to the stadium like when he played before the 2016 Euro, so I just knew it was him straight away.
You knew it was him straight away. Well, fair enough. And do you reckon there will be any other England players that could be from Newcastle or playing for Newcastle at any point in time? Maybe Callum Wilson, Joe Willock?
Wilson's got the best chance. Unfortunately, his injury problem, he's just not going to get it. He is a really, really good striker, but I mean, why have him play when you got a player like Bamford who scores 20 goals a season and doesn't get injured? I mean, it's just a better option for England. I mean, he's a cracking striker. Wilson deserves to be in there, but unlike, for example, like St. Max, when he's got those injury problems, he's just not going to get in anymore.
Of course. Well, Adam, thank you so much for coming on this podcast today. Like I said, it's been a bit of all over the place, this podcast, but I must say I'm very, very jealous of you this Saturday. But all the best for the game. Hopefully the shambles travel isn't as shambolic as it says it is. And I do hope that the game goes well as well. Despite that, I'm sure you'll have a good time. You'll enjoy the atmosphere. Just before we go, have you got anything to say to all the viewers?
Listen, just take a loss in the chin, get ready for Leeds next week. I mein, if we do get results, it's obviously going to be scenes, but I couldn't care less. It's going to be a good day out. I love the away games. I mean, that's what I want to be at. Be back to the away games. That's what I'm here for. So we'll see how things go. But listen, I'm just there for the laugh, really. So we'll see what happens. But Ronaldo returns. Steve, who's can you handle him? We'll see.
Well, let's see if Newcastle United are ready for Ronaldo, as you said, Adam. But thanks so much to everyone who tuned into this podcast today. We will be back at some point, either at the end of the week after the Man United game or next week to discuss what could be Rocket Ronaldo's debut. But thanks so much, everyone who tuned in. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.